Today I'm going to be starting a new series where I look at cards from each era and look at cards that are actually really cheap, under £3 for this specific video. And the first one that I'm going to start out talking about is the Kyogre Amazing Rare. Shining Fates isn't the deepest set, there isn't a lot of really high value cards, but in my opinion, this is probably one of my favourite cards in the entire set. I think it's a really gorgeous artwork, and yeah, I think it's a really unique card that in the future there's not a lot of cards that look like this with this rainbow pattern in the background. Next up, I think this Riolu card from Crown Zenith in the Galarian Gallery is a really nice one. This is part of the connecting artwork. Of course, the Pikachu being the most expensive of those cards, but this one sitting at just under £3, I think is a really good deal, and it's a really nice card. As we know, the illustration rares and these art rares have gone crazy in price, and a lot of them are extremely expensive. But as you can see from this card in particular, it's still at a very modest price, and yeah, a card that I really enjoy. Next up, we have this Rayquaza. This card is probably one of them that I'm most excited about on this list. I know that it's a promo card and therefore it's not very rare, but as we've seen from the demand that has come into Pokemon cards, I think that the rarity of a card, you can see that the prices of these vintage cards that don't have very high populations at all, they've been pretty stagnant for a long time, and it's very hard to find near mint or mint copies of those cards. And a lot of the more kind of mature collectors, the older collectors coming back into Pokemon, are really looking for those mint cards. I know I am, so I think that this card is one that I really believe in. I love Rayquaza, and it's so hard to get your hands on really awesome Rayquaza Pokemon cards, especially at a really decent price. And as you can see from the ungraded price being, just under £2, I think you can kind of pick them up on eBay for around that £2 to £3 mark. And yeah, I do think that this is a really great artwork and a really great Pokemon card with the Cosmos Hollow foil pattern, which really there are a lot of really cool Rayquaza cards that were in like the EX era, Call of Legends, those kind of cards. And this card, to me, even though the rest of the card has that modern feeling, I think the artwork itself and the hollow pattern itself really is nostalgic to those kind of cards. But here you can pick up these cards at a really decent price, and yeah, get yourself a Rayquaza in your collection. Next up, I have this Glaceon promo. So I believe that these promo cards were in the Brilliant Stars 3-pack blisters. This one specifically is really nice. Again, I think the Cosmo Hollow pattern on the promo cards, especially in the Sword and Shield era, I kind of overlooked in a sense. These classic hollow foil patterns with really awesome looking Pokemon are always going to command a big premium. And as you can see from these crazy PSA 10 prices for these cards, I mean, there's obviously not a lot of people are getting these cards graded, so there's not a lot of PSA 10 copies. But I think it is telling that there has been a few recent sales in the PSA 10 category for this kind of price point of over £100. I think that is obviously way too high for a card that's so common, but I think that give it time, and this card and also the next card that we're going to talk about will definitely have some room to gain some appreciation. And yeah, that card is this Leafeon. This Leafeon is also from the free pack blisters. I really like that these artworks have that connecting feature of the flower. Next, we're going to move into celebrations, and this is part of the classic collection. This Garchomp card is a really cool one. This is one that I would love to have the original Garchomp LVX, the Cynthia's Garchomp, as we've seen from other Cynthia's Garchomp cards, like the one in Astral Radiance, and there's one upcoming, I believe, in Destined Rivals. These cards, people love these cards, and I think that this card being at the price point that it is, below £3, is a really, really nice pickup. I really like how these cards have brought in a unique hollow foil pattern as well. So I think that the card itself is different. You know, it has a different feeling to the originals, and therefore the stamp doesn't bother me too much. Now, another card from Celebrations. These cards are really cool. The Surfing Pikachu and the Flying Pikachu specifically. I really like the color balance between the blue and the yellow. And in this case, I think the stamp from a design perspective works really well in connecting the card together. So yeah, I really like this card, and being under £3, I think it's a really great card. I think Celebrations is just going to keep gaining in value. We've seen some of the cards in Celebrations appreciate in value quite a lot recently, like the Umbreon, the Gold Star, and the Magikarp, cards like that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these cards in the main set also kind of getting a little bit of love down the line. And yeah, this is one of those cards that I'd look at. Next up, we have another trainer gallery, and this is the cast form card. I really like this one. I think that the cast form, the Pokemon, is a pretty fun Pokemon, but also just the story of the card, with him kind of just being like almost like a teacher's assistant. It's kind of funny, and that you've got the weather patterns being drawn on the board. So I think it's definitely one to look at if you also really enjoy this card. Next up, we have the Radiant Steelix. So this might be a little bit biased because I am a huge Steelix fan. It's one of the Pokemon that I collect. I try to collect a lot of Steelix cards, but this one being at only £1.39 is surprising to me. I think that it's a shiny Pokemon. Steelix has a really iconic shiny, it being like this gold color. The background of the card in the actual design of the card is really, really cool as well. I like the shattered kind of ice in the background. And also in person, this card has a really nice texture as well, which, you know, all the Radiants do. But specifically, I really think that this card is one that when people get back into collecting Pokemon cards and looking at Pokemon cards, a lot of people, you know, it's a fan favorite Pokemon for a lot of people, and they will look at the price of something like the Shining Steelix from the Neo era, and it's pretty eye-watering, especially if you want a near mint copy. And this one you can really pick up. And finally, this is a little bit of it's obviously not a Pokemon, but I think that this Professor's Research card from Pokemon Celebrations, obviously featuring Professor Oak himself, I think that this card is a really, really nice card, and I really enjoy the trainer cards from that feature characters from the original anime. That this might not be everybody's cup of tea, but for me, it's a card that I really, really enjoy. And yeah, I think at the price, again, all of these cards under £3. I don't think any of these cards are bad purchases if you really like them. So yeah, I hope that maybe you've seen one or two cards in this video that maybe you didn't necessarily consider or hadn't seen before, or you know, just didn't think about as something that is so cheap. So I think that if you have seen any of that's great. But if not, let me know if there are any cards that you really enjoy under that price point. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to catch you on the next one.